My name is Caitlin, known just about everywhere on the internet as Shelabobby, and this is my podcast where I talk about knitting and crocheting and maybe some embroidery today. If you can hear a whistling windy wind, it is quite windy today. We're having quite a gusty Sunday. So if you hear some whistling, I'm sorry, I cannot control Mother Nature, and my door to my shed whistles a lot with the wind. So you may hear some background wind, but it's just cozy wind, don't worry. All is well. Okay, so we have a lot to talk about today. It's been 3 weeks since I last recorded. I recorded, I believe, on the Sunday 3 weeks ago. I typically do every 2 weeks. However, I was unwell last weekend and was not able to record. So today, I still have quite a sore throat and a little bit of a stuffy nose. So if I sound sickly, I am so sorry. Or if I stop multiple times to get a sip of my drink, then I apologize. That is just the way life is today. But we have a lot to talk about. My last podcast, you know that I was going to a fiber festival, so we have quite a few acquisitions, a lot of acquisitions, not just from the fiber festival. I think I did pretty good at the fiber festival. Y'all can be the judge of that. But I also have quite a few finished objects and some upcoming whips that are going to be talked about as well. So we have a bit to go over, so we might as well just jump right in. Make sure that you have a snack, a drink, a project, because it might be a long one. We shall see. I will do my best not to rush through it, but to carry along quite quickly so that we don't linger too long. All right, let's see what we have first. The first one is going to be my watermelon socks. So let me put these on blockers so that you can see them. These are socks that I was making kind of as a make-along, I guess, with my friend Lisa. We both bought the yarn at a fiber retreat a couple weeks ago, and we cast on at the retreat and began to make the socks together. So we were kind of making them twin socks. She made hers a little bit longer, but I have a little bit of a longer and bigger foot than her. So it worked out. We got them done within a day of each other, so that's pretty nice. All right, here they are. So these are what I am calling my watermelon socks. They are biscuit yarn in their bissock. What is that called? Base. In their bissock base. And the heels, cuffs, and toes are out of Kilborn Woolen's Perennial in Neon Lime, and I think this is Neon Pink or Neon Coral. I can't remember exactly that one, and I don't have the tags with me anymore. So what I did is I alternated. So this one has the green at the top, this one has the green on the, you know what I mean, pink on the heel, green on the heel, and then pink on the toe, and green on the toe. So these are the watermelon socks. I started these on February 22nd and finished them on March 9th. So they have been done for a little while. I am doing 68 stitches for socks for myself. So what's really cool about this yarn is that it is self-striping. So you don't have to do anything in particular. You just continue to knit and it will make this beautiful watermelon pattern. So mine came out with a little bit thinner stripes because I have more stitches on the needle, but Lisa's was a little bit thicker stripes. Both looked absolutely gorgeous, so I think they would work for any stitch count. I have also seen this made up into a Musselburgh hat, and that looked pretty cool as well. I have exactly... My door made a whole loud noise. I have exactly 68 grams left in my cake. So I have purchased yarn, which you will see in the acquisition section, to make socks for my nephew because he loves these socks. So I need to use the rest of the yarn to make him a pair. I think that is all that needs to be talked about these. So I will slide them off the blockers and put the next ones on. Actually, before we talk about these, I'm going to talk about a finished object that I do not have here. So I'm going to put a picture here. This is what I'm calling Josiah's Tag. So Josiah had this is my oldest nephew. He had a band concert 2.5 weeks ago, a while back, since the last time I recorded. He had a band concert, and when he came out from finishing the concert, he sat with us while the high school band played, and he said, "And Caitlin, I need a favor." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "I'm sorry for short notice, but I need a tag, an identifier that I can put on my tuba case, because we have a hard time finding out whose tuba is in which case." So I asked him some questions on exactly what he needed, and I came up with this little knitted tag. It's quite small, just a little rectangle. I asked him what he wanted on it, and he said, "Can you put JT on it," which is his initials? And I said, absolutely. So I actually double knitted a tag and put a border around it, and then did an I-cord for him to tie it on. So this is currently on his tuba case at school. So I do not have it here because I gave it to him the very next day so that he could bring it to school. So that is a finished object that I do not have with me, but is in use. All right. The next one is the socks. So these are socks that I was knitting for public purposes. I cast them on to knit on while I was at a birthday party, and then I've carried them along to band concerts and out and abouts and all that sort of stuff. So they have been my on the go, and I actually finished knitting them while I was walking for work. So they have been on the go for quite a while. But here is one of the finished socks. I knit these on US 1.5s, which is 2.5 millimeters on 9-inch circulars. So my gauge when I use 9-inch circulars changes and actually gets quite tight. So I have to go up a needle size or a half needle size to be able to get a appropriate size. So I did do 68 stitches for these, but they are just a basic vanilla sock, 2x2 ribbing, 68 stitches circumference, regular heel flap gusset, regular toe, little shorty socks for myself. And here's the second one. So they are ready to go. The yarn is by Camp Fiber Yarns, and it was a one-of-a-kind colorway. I think it was from one of her oopsie sales, or just like one of a kinds where she, was experimenting, or one of the batches didn't turn out quite right. But this is just a cool blue-gray, and every once in a while there's a little speckle of color. You'll see like a pink blotch or a blue blotch or speckle or, something like that. But they are amazing and ready to wear them now that I have shown them to you. So that is my third finished object. I'm going to slide these off because I'm going to need them later. My next finished object There's also a bonnet and a scarf that comes with the pattern as well for the bunny, but I just made, and a little skirt, but I just made the dress and the pants for this particular one. I also added the eyelets in to match the shirt that I made for my niece. So this was a fun pattern. This is the first time that I've knitted a animal creature, amigurumi, or whatever they are called. It is my first time knitting a creature up. So it was an experience. It's a little bit fiddly, but I enjoyed it. It went by quickly. I knitted this while I was sick last weekend. So, yeah, it's an easy to follow pattern. Quite a cute little bunny. I did not add the mouth to her little face because I tried it like 10 times and it just looked incorrect. So she has no mouth, but she's adorable. I think that is about all to talk about the little good bunny. I started her March 14th and finished her March 20th. I did it over the weekend and then was out of town for part of the week for a Fall Out Boy concert, and when I came back is when I finished her dress. So she was pretty quick to knit up. It is a seamless design, so you knit the two legs separately, then you join them and make her body. She actually has you put purl bumps on the arm section so you know where to pick up for the arms, and then you go up and continue and make the head, and then there is specific instructions on where to pick up the ears, so it is very clear. That's always the worst part about like crochet amigurumi, is that I never know where to pick up and where to place their limbs. So that was amazing about this pattern. It was easy to understand and go for. So that is my good bunny. It will now go to Kate. She wanted her yesterday. I said I have to show her on the podcast and then you can have her. So that is The Good Bunny by Susan B. Anderson. The last finished object that I have is one that I started last week. So this is the Wavy Baby Blanket by Caitlin Barthold. And I finished the blanket. So last time I think I just started this darker blue color on the blanket. And so since then I have added a whole nother large section. I ran out of this main color blue. So that main color blue was supposed to cover this entire section, but I ran out of the blue. I had a lot less than I thought I did. So I didn't really have enough of another color of this yarn to finish it. So I looked around. I was going to buy some yarn if need be, but I decided to add this gray color and this light gray. Let's see if I can find my hands. This light gray color here is actually a different brand of yarn. So I don't have the exact colorways on me for the I Love This Yarn, but this is Hobby Lobby's I Love This Yarn acrylic, black. I think this one is the dark gray or granite gray. This is the denim blue, and then this one I think is the light blue or medium blue. I can't remember the exact colorway. But those are the colors that I had for this project, and so I added in this gray color from my stash, which is Paintbox Yarns in the Simply Erin, and the colorway is 205, so it doesn't have a colorway of a word that I can give you, but it is just the light gray. I think online it might be called Dolphin Gray, because I remember the project that I used this on, and I think it's Dolphin Gray. So that was added in. It is a little bit of a looser fabric here. Like this is a much more flexible than this here, but visually it doesn't make any difference. This is a baby blanket. I don't think I've mentioned that. This is a baby blanket that I am making for my cousin. Him and his wife are having their first baby in, I think it's June or July. And so I made them a baby outfit that my aunt wanted to gift them for Christmas, and so I made that for them over the Christmas holiday. And then this is the leftover yarn from that project, so I just reused the yarn that was used for that project to make them a little baby blanket. And my idea is that it's just a blanket to throw on the ground if you need to lay the baby down for tummy time, or throw over them if it's a little bit windy outside. You know, a blanket to keep in the car and throw over the car seat to keep them nice and warm. So that is this blanket. It does have, this is my first time doing a border on a crochet blanket as well. I mentioned in my last podcast that this was my first time doing the wavy pattern, that I had been intimidated by the wavy pattern. I think it was because increases and decreases, but I've done amigurumi since then, so I think I'm a little bit more comfortable with those terms and techniques. But I really enjoyed the slip stitch pattern portion of this, where it has the slip stitch and it shows up on both sides, so it's a completely reversible blanket. And then I did a border, which it is in black, so you can't see it on that. I've never successfully put a border on a crochet blanket, so it's not perfect, but it is usable for a baby blanket, and that is its purpose. I started this on March 2nd and finished it today, March 24th. I actually postponed recording my podcast to finish doing the slip stitch round of the border, so it was finished, you know, maybe 30 minutes ago. So I'm going to thoroughly wash this in some baby wash, get it all nice and clean for them, and then I'm going to ship it to them hopefully within the next week, so that can get to them. I not knit it. This is a crochet project. I crocheted it on a size, I believe, 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, just an ergonomic one. Whipped that up. All right, so that is all the finished objects that I have. Quite a few to finish over the past 3 weeks, but now we have quite a few works in progress as well. So first I will talk about my fragmentation, which is in my Ghosty Fat Squirrel Speaks bag. So this is something that I started beginning of January, I believe, as my happiness project to go over the winter, and we are officially in spring, but I cast it on because typically winters here are gray and rainy, and you won't see the sunshine for weeks sometimes during the winter. And so in preparation for that, I typically get, you know, seasonal depression and low mood, and just really crave some sunshine and bright, happy times. But thankfully, this winter was not as gloomy, and walking for work has helped a lot as well, because that got me outside, and even if it was cloudy and cold, I was still getting out into some sunshine. So definitely recommend sunshine as a remedy for some of those things if possible. But my fragmentation shawl was cast on for the purpose of a happiness project during that gloomy time. I worked on it a little bit this past session. I did not weave in my ends, so you are going to see some little ends there. Sorry. Typically I try to weave them in with projects like this, but I have worked on this, and this marker here is where I was last time. So the fragmentation shawl is by Stephen West, and I am using amazingly bright colors to just make an awesome, lightweight, oversized, huge blanket shawl that I can, you know, wrap up in and just be cozy during the colder months. So that stitch marker is where I was last time, so I have added 4 colors into the shawl, and it is still quite tiny, so, you know, not too much going on there yet. And thankfully, the way that this shawl is made is that it maybe will get, you know, this wide for a wedge, but then you start over again, and you start really, really tiny and then grow your way out. So you never have a huge amount of stitches on the needles, and that's the reason why I really like this. Plus it's garter, so you're just knitting all the time. Pretty mindless. My I-cord edge is pretty neat, in my opinion. Usually I-cords for me are a little bit wonky. My slip stitch edge is ugly, but thankfully that gets covered up when you pick up stitches for the other side, so I'm not too concerned about that. I have talked about the colorways that are in here in many different podcasts, and it is also linked below. So I'm not going to go through the colorways, each colorway in themselves. Please look at the Ravelry project page or past podcasts if you want to know what colors are which. But I am using Kelbourne Woolens in the perennial base, which is 60% superwash merino, 25% alpaca, and 15% nylon. And I'm using, 7 different colorways? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. 7 different colorways in that to make this shawl. So I will move up the Progress Keeper while I'm thinking about it, because this is not something that I work on regularly, so I will forget to move it for sure if I don't do it now. So now the stitch marker has been moved and is ready for next time. So that is my Fragmentation shawl by Stephen West and the progress that I have done on it. The next work in progress that I have is a pair of socks, unsurprisingly. Almost lost some stitches there. So this is what I'm calling my Ray socks, just for ease of saying the name. So I'll show you the tag for the yarn first. So this is Explore, and it's in fibers. This is a yarn that I got in the solstice box, winter solstice box. I believe this one is one of the, where I got the 8-pack, and 4 of them were solids and 4 of them were variegated. And this was one of the first days, if I remember correctly, maybe, or first skeins, I should say, within the first weeks. So I have looked this up, and I believe the way that you pronounce this is Rayansvara Beach. If I am saying that wrong, I apologize, but it is on her Denali sock, 80% superwash, 20% nylon base. And here's the yarn in cake form. This was my favorite one out of all the yarns that I got from that collection. And semi-considering if she does another solstice box to get them again. We'll see. Depends on how much yarn that I use from here until she releases it, because I'm trying to use yarn and not buy yarn as I look down at my acquisitions. So this is the yarn in the cake form, and it is beautiful. I think cyan is the best way to describe that blue that's in there. There's a little bit of pink too. It's not showing up too good on camera, but there's some like light pinky, lilac, purpley colors along with that dark gray. So here it is. Let's get it all untangled from my cast on. So here it is, and where I am on the sock, I have only made one, or I've only made, this start, so I don't have one to put on a blocker, but I am through the heel turn and flap and ready to work on the decreases for the gusset. So that is where I am on that sock. This is the sock that I am currently using for walking for work, so it hasn't got too much over the past 2 weeks. Worked on, because while I am walking, I have it in my pocket, or I have a chalk bag that I walk with as well. I am knitting these 68 stitches, of course, on Magic Loop, US 1, all of that fun stuff. And that is it for that work in progress. My last knitting work in progress is in my Oh Wow Amsterdam handmade bag. And inside of here, I do have a finished sock that I will put on a sock blocker for you. But then I will take it off the sock blocker so that you can see the pattern. So I am making these socks as a gift for my sister. You will see a lot of socks. She knows that that is my purpose in life, is to make her a whole bunch of socks. So this is the first one, and I completed this sock, but you're not going to be able to see the pattern too well. But this is the Honey It's Cold Out Socks by Anne Hunt, or Toby Knits, I believe is how she's known for her patterns as well. I got this pattern. She released a discount code for, my brain just completely blanked on her name. Give me a second. I'm going to look her up because she is someone that I look forward to her podcast weekly, or sometimes twice weekly. And for some reason, I cannot think of her YouTube name. Oh, Emily of Memily Makes. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot that. Sorry, Emily. So Emily of Memily Makes, she was making these socks, and I believe Toby Knits is a friend of hers, and she gave them a discount code for her viewers to purchase this sock with a discount. So I picked them up because I really enjoyed the pattern. So I'll show you on the sock that's in progress, but it just has a honeycomb texture is what I would like to describe it as, but I believe that Toby Knits was describing it as the icicles that were on the windshield. That's what she was inspired by. And so that is the texture that's here, and it goes down the front of the sock. Again, I'll show you that on the sock itself. But first, let me talk about the yarn. This is the Long Dog yarn. I always get this wrong. I always want to say Arizona, and it is not Arizona. It is New Mexico. It is her Yarn of Enchantment year-long subscription. I don't know the right way to put it. She has a subscription that goes where you get one sock set every month for this particular set. Why can't I think of the word? Anyway, you get yarn from Long Dog Yarn, and I love her yarn. So anyway, it is the first one. This is the January colorway, which is the White Sands National Park. And it is on her merino sock base, which is 75/25, and it is the softest, squishiest yarn I have ever felt, ever. And this is the mini that comes with it as well. So let me show you. Sorry, wind again, scaring me. This is the tag that came on the yarn of Enchantment, Long Dog Yarn, and White Sands National Park. So there's the information about the sock set itself. This is the mini. That is all I have left, but that is all that I need because I have finished the contrast colorways. Here is the yarn in the cake. It's just a soft, beautiful color. And here is the sock that I am currently working on. I am on the foot. So here's that lovely pattern and texture. See if I can get it to focus on the sock. You can do it. There we go. So you just decrease these honeycombs or these, is it hexagons? And then you go down into one all the way down the foot. I stopped at the toe and did the toe naturally with just stockinette, but I assume you could probably continue it down as well. So I have just finished the gusset stitches. That's what this bunny is on. I do not remember where I got this bunny. I got it just a couple weeks ago, months ago. So I will put that here on the screen, but that is what is marking my beginning of the foot. So I think I have 5 honeycomb repeats before I'm on the toe, and then this one is done. These will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you can see it, but these will stay as, I don't know if you gifts. Like my sister knows that they're for her, but I will probably keep them in a little container and give them to her for her birthday or Christmas or something like that. I'm going to collect up a couple. Here is, nope, that is not for that. I was going to say here's the card for that particular sock set, but that is for March's sock set, which I will show you in acquisitions. So you don't need to know about that just yet. All right, so that was my last knitting work in progress, and my last work in progress is actually embroidery. So I went to the knit shop yesterday, and I totally forgot about it because of the whirlwind of the week that I had, but they had an embroidery class yesterday, Saturday, and it was to embroider on these baskets. So this is the unfinished side. This is a basket made by a local artist, and she actually was teaching the embroidery class as well. So I have, if you've seen the cinch top basket, the dark blue one with the bunnies on it, that was from her as well. So I jumped in on the class and was ready to embroider and make a beautiful basket. So here is what I have done so far. So I'm just doing these, I think she called them little drips, but it is just 2 per drip and then go down a step on the basket. I have all of my embroidery floss, my needle, all that stuff in here, and so I will just continue that around the basket. I'm about halfway through the basket, and then I also grabbed this colorway to do a little Charlie butt on the basket. I've looked up, you know, like a bunny that has its back to you, so you would have the little ears and the little bunny butt. I'm going to try and put that on this basket as well. So that's the goal, but that is my work in progress, is this beautiful basket. Okay, acquisitions. Let's talk about them. So I mentioned in January of the new year, I wanted to bring in less or the same amount that I knit. And so what you're about to see is a lot of yarn. However, I am not discouraged. I have knit a lot. For example, that blanket took out 5 skeins of yarn. You know, I have a lot of works in progress. I've knit socks. Yeah, I've been bringing in yarn, but I've also been knitting a lot out, right? It doesn't matter. Anyway, it really doesn't matter. So I would like to show you what I have purchased recently. So I'm going to start with my largest acquisition, which is actually a commission. So does it count? Maybe. But when I finish the blanket, it will no longer count. So my friend reached out to me and said that he would like to have a crochet blanket made for a Christmas gift or for Christmas. I'm not exactly sure when and where he will use it, but I said, sure, how big do you want it? And he said, a queen size blanket. And I said, that's going to be fun. So I looked up some patterns, looked up some colorways based on his wants and needs, and gave him some quotes, and we're going for it. So I am excited to tell you that I have 26 skeins of yarn that have come in from Hobby Lobby. Here they are. These are the colors that are going to be in his blanket. It is going to be a ripple crochet blanket, king size. I've done a swatch. I know how much I need, but these are going to be 2 stripe ripples, and then you change the color, and then this color is going to be the border. So I have 26 of these that have come in the mail and are ready to be started, and now that I have finished the baby blanket, that will likely happen. So did I get 26 skeins of yarn? Yes. But they're going right back out. They're going to be turned into a blanket, and it's going to be fabulous. Right? In all seriousness, I make a big deal out of it as like stash in, stash out. But we all know my feelings on stash is that collecting yarn and using yarn are two very different hobbies, so it does not bother me if I don't meet the goal of having used more than I've brought in. Honestly, I just want to do that for the, I don't know the right word that I'm looking for, because frugal isn't, more conscious buying. You know, I don't want to overspend and overconsume yarn. So that is my reason for trying to limit my yarn purchases a little bit more. But if there's yarn that I like, I'm going to buy it because I like to collect yarn as much as I like to knit it. So there's my, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So that is the blanket. I only brought out one of each color, but I have 5 of each color and then 6 of the gray, since that's going to be the border. It's going to be very similar to the baby blanket, but just a little bit different as far as stitch counts and how all of that works, because it's a different pattern. So that is my first acquisition. The next one is going to be Yarnable for March. So it is pretty late in March, but if you haven't seen yours or don't want to be spoiled, please look away for a little bit. I will show you the extras that came first. I will admit to you that one of the extras is no longer with me, and that is the, usually it tells you, yes. So it was the luxury, sulfate-free, vegan hair shampoo bar. It was heavily lavender scent, and I am very, very sensitive to lavender. Usually if I get a lavender satchel from like the Fat Squirrel, I can easily put it into my stash and like I'll smell it for a couple days, but then it'll dissipate enough to where it's not, you know, heavy. But the bar was very heavily scented like lavender, and so I had to remove it from my house because it was giving me a headache. But if it was a different scent, I would have loved it. That was just, it was a little overpowering for myself. That is the first time that I have gotten a extra from Yarnable that I was like, I cannot use this. I don't think anybody can use this, because it was quite heavily scented. But the idea of it and the thought of it would have been perfect had it been not as strong or just not as heavily scented. You also get a button that says, "Go away, I am knitting." And I'm going to put this on one of my bags. And then you get a right side, wrong side stitch marker from Paper Sushi. So you can mark your right side and wrong side. Those were the extras. And then the colorway was Here We Grow Again, which is a beautiful powder blue with these dark fuchsia speckles. And I get the plush sock. Dog yarn. I got the March Yarn of Enchantment installment. And so here is the inspiration photo, which is the Petroglyph National Monument. And here is the information. Feel free to pause and read about it. And then here is the yarn. It is so gorgeous. Like, if I saw, the thing about getting a mystery or an inspired monthly yarn for me is that there are colorways that I would not pick up if I was in a store, and this is one of those. Like, this is a gorgeous yarn and I cannot wait to use it, but if I just walked into a yarn shop, I'm going to lean more towards the blues and greens of a colorway if I am picking it, rather than these dark browns with purples. And but this is beautiful, and I cannot wait for it to be a sock. My goal was to knit up the socks in the month that I got them, but I already got behind. But my January socks are almost done, and my February socks are caked up and ready to go, so I'm not too concerned about it. And with summer sock camp you know I'm going to knit a lot of socks. But this one is the Tag, and it is in the merino sock base. Let's see if it'll focus on it today. Maybe not. There we go. Petroglyph National Monument, merino sock 4-ply, 85.15, and last month we got a tweed base. So she's giving out different bases depending on the month and the inspiration, and now my camera's like, well, now I'm not going to focus on you. So that's rude, camera. All right, so the last bit of the acquisitions is going to be from the Fiber Festival. So I'm going to reset my recording here so that I make sure I have enough time to go through everything. But we are about to jump in and see what I got at the Fiber Festival. All right. So, I went to the Fiber Festival with my mom, my niece, and 4 friends, technically, from the local yarn shop, and we just hung out and then had lunch together, and it was a great time. Purchased quite a few things between the group of us, but this is what I picked up. So, it is all currently in my Cottontail Farm bags. This is my number 1 stop when I go to a Fiber Festival. Cottontail Farms is a company from Virginia, but every time that I've gone to a Fiber Festival, they have been there, and they always have Woodland Bunny bags. So I don't have another one out here with me, but all of their bags that I have from them are bunnies, but they do have other creatures and textures, and I just love their style of bags. This is my first one that is of a larger size. Usually I get a sock or a shawl bag, but I needed one for blankets, and so the baby blanket that I've worked on has actually been living in here, but then for the recording, I popped all of my purchases in here as well. So that was my first one. And then also from Cottontail Farms, which you have seen if you've watched the podcast before, I have a little bag, and I think these little baskets are used for spinning, but I have used them to hold a 50-gram cake of yarn or something like that and walk with. That's where I started walking and knitting. I use these little bags. They're also just handy to separate your yarns if you have multiple balls going in one bag. So I picked up another one of these because I really liked this black and white floral texture, or floral pattern, not texture. So I grabbed another one of those. We also went to the Fiber Seed booth. The Fiber Seed is where I learn most about all of the, sorry, the wind is really whipping out there. The Fiber Seed is the company that I learned about a lot of the fiber festivals in North Carolina, because she posted on her Instagram that she was going, and I was like, I can go to that. So if you have watched some of my podcasts around Christmas and a little bit after, I made a shift along, I think is what it's called, the hat, and I'm running out of the navy, and I have enough to make myself another hat and maybe a headband or something like that out of that yarn. So I just needed another navy. So this is just their sprout sock in navy. And of course can use this for socks and stuff after, because this is 130 grams, I think. 136 grams. So it's a larger skein and will carry much more than what I need, but I needed some more. Sorry. I believe a tree branch just fell. Scared me half to death. Okay. Another dyer that I had not seen before and was new to me was Granite Mountain Fiber Co. And she had a booth with just amazing fall, like, nature-inspired colors. Me and the ladies that went, we all really enjoyed her booth. And she also had some progress keepers. I have lint on me, sorry. She had some progress keepers that I'll show you if they are in here. I believe they are, that we got as well. But this is the colorway Blaze. And so I picked this up because it called to me and needed to be socks. So that is the yarn I got from them. See if I can show you the base colorway, the base details. I am not wording correctly anymore. I'm just excited about all the yarn. There we go. Cold work fingering, 75-25. Colorway is Blaze. I also found this String Theory booth, which had a lot. Is it you, little gnome? Are you causing my problems? No? There we go. String Theory, Colorworks. This is the Entanglement base, which is 75 superwash merino, 25 nylon. They had a lot of bases and the colorways in each base, and you could really see the difference in the way that the dye is picked up by the different bases. But they also had a flip book that had swatches of each of their colorways at each of their bases so that you could see how it would work up. It was a great booth. So this is the Radium colorway, and this stripe pattern has 7 rows of navy, and 3 rows of the chartreuse. It also came with this charm that matches the yarn. Each of their yarns had a charm on it, so it was awesome. This brand, I just enjoyed all of their colorways, but this is the one that called to me the most, so picked up one of these for socks. I also was looking for, the only thing that I was looking for at the festival was the watermelon socks. My nephew wanted a pair, and so I was looking for a contrasting color to go with that. And so I looked, and I came up with these. These are very bright neon, so they're probably going to blow out. But these are from Gem Luxe Fibers, and I've purchased from them before some minis and stuff like that. But this is, let's see if it will focus on yarn. This is Serpentine. It is a 50-gram skein, and it is 75-25, and so this is just a bright lime green, and this colorway is called Ruby Red, but I would call it more of a watermelon pink. So those are the two that I picked up to go with the watermelon socks. And then, of course, I don't need 100 grams to do heels, toes, and cuffs. So I will make myself a pair of shorties that stripes the colors after I finish those. So that yarn will turn into 2 pairs of socks, make the socks last forever. I also was drawn to this skein from Gem Luxe Fibers as well on her Luxe sock. It is called S'mores Anyone, and it is on their fingering weight 75-25 as well. And it's just a cream base with oranges and browns and blacks and a little bit of blues in there. But it just called to me and wanted to be socks, so that had to come with me as well. That is all of the yarn that I purchased. So let me swap my yarn storage for going back in here so that everything is together. Now I'll show you the other things that I got. And I'm realizing that I forgot one thing, but from the Carolina Fiber Festival, I got a jacket, a hoodie that has the embroidered little sheep logo, and then I also picked up a enamel pin to put on my enamel pin collection. So that's the official merch that I got. Last but certainly not least is my collection of stitch markers that I got there. There's a guy who does 3D printed tools. So he has like lisette forks and spindles, and I got the Nitty Knotty from him at the one in Fletcher. Saf. I got it from Saf's, but he always has these little 3D printed sheep, and he has them there for free, and so I picked up one of those, and then we'll do stitch markers. So these are the stitch markers that I got from the Granite Mountain Fiber Co. She had them where you could buy 5 for a certain amount, and so I picked out 2 that I liked, and then my niece picked out 3 that she liked. So, whoops. So the first one I got is this one that says, "If I'm not knitting, I'm thinking about it." And then I got this very adorable little skeleton dude, gnome guy. He was adorable, so he needed to come home with me. So those were the two I got from that shop. And then the rest of them are from the String Theory booth. They had this package that contained 19 small ring and 1 progress keeper. And then they also had this one, which I cannot pronounce, which was basically if it's an alive or dead cat with some matching markers. So I got 2 packs of these, gave one to my niece who loves kitties. Her big one is a cat, a black cat with a knife in its mouth. She loves it. So I'll show you mine. Mine is a little black ghosty cat. Here we go. And it's just on a ring there. And then it came with coordinating stitch markers. So that was the one that was in the cat one. And then the other package, I opened it, looked at them, and then I passed it back to my niece who was in the back of the vehicle. And I said, you look at them all, and I said, there's 20 in there. You pick 10, put them in your collection, and then leave me the other 10. So these are the ones that were in there. She left me the Progress Keeper, which is a sugar skull with a little bead. And then it just has a bunch of these type, let's see, it has a bunch of these type beaded ones. She left me a lot of the blues and purples because she knows those are my colors. But yeah, just a assortment of little beads and charms as progress keepers. So that concludes my acquisition. So I don't think I did pretty, I think I did pretty good. I was going to say I don't think I did pretty bad. I think I did pretty good. I don't think I did too bad at the Fiber Festival. I did my best to make sure that the yarns that I got had a purpose, which of course you can always buy yarn for socks, but I made sure that I got what I needed, which was the contrasting colors for my nephew's socks, and then any sock yarns that called to me, and then you can always use progress keepers and stitch markers, right? So that is what I got over the past 3 weeks in the mail or at the Fiber Festival, and what I have been doing. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't already, please consider clicking the subscribe button down there at the bottom. It really helps the channel. I recently got over 160 subscribers, and it puts a smile on my face every time that I see that someone else has joined our little group here. And just wanted to say I appreciate each and every one of you. Also, if you would like to, go ahead and click the like button to let me know that you enjoyed this. It also helps the channel grow, and share these with your friends. Also, thank you to those who have commented, and I will talk to you in about 2 weeks. Bye!